Hi guys, welcome back to another video. This one's slightly different. A lot of the winter I spent a lot of my time in here in the office, working on the following year, going through all my cost of productions, all my Excel sheets, and trying to figure everything out. And I just want to go through you with how I approach an enterprise on the farm or a new enterprise, and how I evaluate it, to go through the finances because a lot of farmers out there are, they're showing you all the good stuff that's happening in nature and how they're working with the environment. And the ecological and the social benefit to a farm is really important. But farmers never talk enough about the economics of their farm. And I want to show you how I approach the economics of an enterprise on my farm. And I'm just showing you how I go through it. It's very simple. I mean, you could do this stuff on a piece of paper. Sometimes I often do it, but it's nice to do it on an Excel sheet because then you can build in a lot of the calculations into it so you can play about with it, and it's very simple. So come along with me and I'll show you how we do that. Okay, so I just want to walk you through here basically how I approach any enterprise that I'm looking at doing, how I figure out the logistics or the finances of it. And this is, I'm just showing you what I do. I mean, I use Excel just because it's fast. You can do this on a piece of paper. And today I'm going to look at an enterprise I was actually looking at probably last, so it's fresh as in my head, and that's a milk and goats enterprise. So we're going to do, and first we want to think about all the direct costs that's involved. So we've got to get a goat. And the reason why I like using Excel is because it's scalable. Then we can look at it, if we'll work it out for one goat, what the costs are, what the return is, and then we can just put in a simple calculator there and multiply it out by as many goats as we want, and we can see what the different numbers will be. So we need to buy a goat. Where are we? Okay, so typically for me, I can buy a decent quality milking goat for about 200 euros. And I mean, realistically, I need to break this up because that goat's going to live for multiple years. So there's no point in me taking all the hit in 1 year. That goat, if we buy, say, a 2-year-old goat that's just in kid, I'm going to say she actually probably costs 250. So I'm going to put a little note section over here. So the goat was bought for, we're going to say 250, right? That goat, we'll be able to milk that goat. I'm going to say if we buy her and she's 2 years old, we can milk her when she's 3 years old, 4 years old, 5. I'm going to put this that we can milk her for 3 years. So we're going to milk over 3 years. So we can spread out that 250 over 3 years. So this is going to be equal to 250, which is the cost, divided by 3 years, which will keep steady. So each year she's got to pay us back 83 euros in cost. So I'm actually going to make this here equal to this. Okay, and I can play about with that. If I say, look, I'm going to care my goats well, I can break that out over 5 years. Maybe what I'll do is I'll skip that over one here and I'll put my 5 in there. So milk over 5 years, and then I'll have to make this equation equal to this multiplied by this. And now you see what I can do is, it's divided by, isn't it? So let's change that to a divide. So now what I've done is, because if I decide, oh no, the price of goats are going up now, this will keeps I can come back and update my sheet. Goats are up to 300. Well, it's automatically changing my 60 over here. If we watch this box and I say, you know what, I can't get 5 years, I can only get 4 years. It's automatically updating everything. What I typically do is I'll put a little green box around this because I know I can change the green boxes, and I know it's okay to change them. And so I think I can definitely get goats for 250 here in Ireland. I did this year. And I think 3 years is a nice fair number there, because you definitely should be able to get more, but we'll be realistic here. Whenever I'm working out my costs, I want to be as pessimistic as possible. So put in the most expensive of everything. The other thing I need to think about for me anyway is winter hay. I don't produce my own hay, so I buy in hay, but I try to keep a lot of stockpile on the ground. This is where it's going to be very specific to your farm, and in this case is very specific to me. I feed my goats for 2 months, or 60 days. put in brackets here days. I'm going to make this 60. And a goat needs 4% of their body weight in dry matter. The average weight of a goat is going to be around 30 kilos. That's the kind of size of goat I like to keep. So I like to put in these notes as I'm going along here. I got an underscore coming here. There we go, 4% of 30 kg body weight. And by me putting in these notes is I can open this sheet and I mightn't do goats at all, and I can open the sheet in 2 years time and straight away I know where my train of thought is. So I'm just going to put that into this here. So it's going to be equal to 30 kgs multiplied by 0.04 for 4%. So they need to get 1.2 kgs of hay. So the total is going to be, I better put it in here, total kgs of hay is going to be equal to 60 days multiplied by the 1.2 kilos a day, 72 kilos. And the price of hay is, I can get a small bale of hay for €4, and that's 15 kilos. So 15 divided by 4, sorry, it's 4 divided by 15 even. So it's 26.6 cent price per, I'm going to do price per kg of hay. And for me, that is, put it in here. I've got it in my calculator here. So, well, I'll just put a note in here. Where will I put it? I'll make it this bigger. I can buy 15 kgs of hay for €4. That's not the one I want, for €4. So that's obviously going to be changing and need altering from year to year. But that's a realistic price. Now, hopefully, I'm hoping that I'll eventually be able to get my own hay made at the farm. So I'm going to do a calculation here in my calculator. So I'm going to do €4 divided by 15 kilos is 0.2. I can put this in here. This is equal to 4 divided by 15. So that's the price per kilo of hay. And I'd like to tidy this up. It was 2.67. So total cost of hay is going to be, this is going to equal the price per kilo multiplied by the number of kilos they're going to eat. Around €20 is it? 19.20. So I'm going to make 1 hay equal to this. And let's make all these the value of, okay. And now we're off it. That's pretty much the only cost. The only other cost I have is I buy a lick bucket, which is like €15. And it does, I probably buy 2 of them in the year. So that's €30 a year. So that's going to depend on the number of goats. So I'm going to put it in as, I call it a lick bucket, it's minerals. So this is going to be, and really, €30, that does 10 goats. So I need to work that back. So €30 divided by 10, so it's really €3 per goat per year. So I'm going to put 3 in here. I'm just going to say, there's not much I need to work out in that. So the total cost is going to be, and if I go to formula, auto sum, okay, it's €105.53 for me to keep 1 goat for the year and milk her. Now, what's our sales value? Again, if I'm starting from green, if I never kept a goat, I have to guesstimate this. You'll find online where people advise you that all herbivores will eat about 4% of their dry matter per day in the wintertime to maintain themselves. So you get that number there. I can look up how much a bale of hay costs, what weight it is, and so on and so forth. I can look up, what's the average life or how long a goat can milk for. And so I can look up all this information. Now I'm also running a farm, so I know a lot of this number around hay, etc. And I've also already started with goats, so I've done like a trial year, 2 years almost, where I can collect more quantifiable data, like what is the actual price of a goat, how much I can get one for. And so I'll also know, well, the first thing, the goats will have kids, and generally with goats you'll nearly always get 2 kids, but I'm going to put it in, this shouldn't say sales value, this should be income. So kids, generally I'm going to say kidding rate of 1.5. Now that's been very generous. Let me move this guy over one. And the second thing here I'm going to say is I can sell a male for 50 euros or a female for 100. So I'm going to say the average sale price is, I need to make this 1.5. The average sale price is 75 euros. And I rarely have any trouble getting rid of goats. There's always demand for them here in Ireland. So this is going to be equal to 75. So total kid value is going to be the 75 multiplied by 1.5. Now I need to go and put in more of my green boxes here, so I'm keeping this up to date, because maybe in 5 years time I feel like my kid rate is 2.2. Well, I can come along and update that and get this sheet as accurate as possible. And then I'm making decisions based on factual information. So this is going to equal to this. So basically the goat is nearly covering herself in kids alone. So whatever we get on milk is going to be profit. Okay, milk production. And this falls into kind of two categories now. There's going to be, and again, you set this up how you want. I find there's two categories here I want to look at. One is kid share, and the other one is non-kid share. So where the kids are taken off and they're fed on a bottle. Because I find a big difference in them. With the kid share, now I like to milk for about 200 days in the year. That's like 6.5 months. I think that's fair in the goats. It's about as much work as I want to do if I was going to milk. Now this number can be anything you want. You can keep a goat lactating for quite a long time. So with the kid share, you can get 1 litre per day for 200 days. So that's going to be based on one. And then with non-kid share, you can get, I'm going to take that out because that needs to be general. With a non-kid share, that's going to be 400. Like that, so that's 400. That's going to be 2 litres a day. Okay, now, yes, in this system you have to give some milk to the kid. What I find is generally the first 3 weeks, the kid's taking a lot of the milk anyway. And so if I want to milk for 200 days, well, actually the goat will be lactating for like 230. And the same here, I would say, I still want to take milk from the goat for 200 days. We'll be milking her slightly more because we need to get milk for the kids. Why do you get way less in kid share? It's all to do with how the goat's udder fills up. So if the kid's constantly nursing her, the udder's used to putting out a little bit of milk, then it getting drunk, putting out a little bit, getting drunk. So the udder never really swells too big. Whereas if you take the kid off and you milk twice a day, the udder swells up and it can carry quite a bit of milk, so the goat will produce more, and then she gets milked out and then she fills it up. And so that's why the kid share just keeps the udder smaller, so the goat doesn't feel the need to produce as big a volume. So it's about, in my experience, it's about half the production. So that's our outputs, and I can get comfortably, I'm going to put value of milk here, 3 euros per litre. 3, what am I doing? 3 euros per litre. I mean, you can't even get, you're only starting to be able to get organic goat's milk here in Ireland. You can't get 100% grass-fed, better than organic goat's milk. So 3 euros a litre is, I think, an easy sell. So this is going to equal to 3 multiplied by this. So we're going to make 600 euros with the kid share. And here's the big difference. You see, if you don't do the kid share, you make 1200. But for me, there's a big ethical thing there to think about. And that's money, so that I keep that like that. Okay, so what can be our profit per goat? So if we go cost, I like to make it very simple here. Sales and then profit. And this is direct. Remember, we've got other costs because, like you think in milk bottles. Generally, what I do with milk bottles here, I'd be clever. I get buying glass bottles. A glass bottle will cost about €1. It won't really be €1, but I'm thinking of inflation, whatnot. And I say, if you want to buy milk from me, it's €4 for a bottle of milk. But if you bring back your bottle, then it's €3. So that way the customer's carrying the cost of the bottle, so it doesn't really affect these numbers. It'll just tie up a little bit of cash. I will need, if I want to get into the milk business, I need to make up a little milking parlor and a little milk processing room. But I'm not looking at a big outfit here. I'm looking at like milking 10, 20 goats, small volumes of milk. Like we're looking at small, if I do 10 goats on a kid share model, that's only going to be like, what's that, like 2,000 liters a year, across 200 days, 10 liters a day. Tiny. You could nearly convince the EHO to let you do it in your kitchen, but just a smart little place that's not going to require much electricity or anything. I think I can really absorb that into the cost of my farm, and I don't really need to worry about those costs. So the cost is going to be this here. The sales value is going to equal, I'm going to go with the kid share here for a minute, this plus our kid sales is this. And our profit then is going to equal the 712 minus this, and I like to put my percentages in here. So this is equal to the overall equal to this divided by the overall turnover will give me a percentage. 15%. That's going to be 100% there. And then what's the profit going to be? Well, it's going to be obviously 85, which is going to be this divided by this. By putting in the formulas, when I start to change stuff, the sheet will automatically keep up with me. And I'm going to put another one down here, the non-kid share. So I'm going to call this one kid share. I'm going to call this one non-kid. Okay, I'm just going to copy these. And this is as complicated as it gets, but once I do the sheet once, I can come in and play with it whenever I want. So the cost remains the same. Oh, that one there. The sales for this one is going to be the kids plus this one here. Okay, and then the profit is going to equal this minus this. And now you can see why most farmers, let it be all dairy cows or goats, would take the kids away from the mamas. So this is equal to this divided by this. Look at the difference it makes there. Percent, we go from 15% down to 8 on our costs, and our profit's going to go up to 92%. So that's like how these numbers are looking good. And here's the thing: I know these numbers. I've milked goats. I milk my goats when I kid share them. A liter a day is not a lot of milk for a goat. I could push that probably a bit, for sure. Breeding better goats, growing better grasses. That's, to be honest, I should be able to push that to 2 liters a day. Let's make an equation here so I can change it. Let's take this out here. Let's put our 1 in here. Let's put our 2 in here. That stays in milking, so this is going to equal to this multiplied by this, which is blank, but I'm going to put the price per milk in there, which is 3 multiplied by this. It's going to be nothing, but I put 3 in there, 600, and we go to this again, so this is going to be equal to this multiplied by 3, the price of milk multiplied by the liters per day. And so straight away, if I say, okay, I'm going to get it up to 1.5 liters for my kid share. And now what I'm watching is the profit down here. And I go enter. Okay, I went from 600 to 900 down here. I got my profit up more. And, let's put these in green. And this is how I build a sheet. And then I can play about with it. What makes a big difference? Like, and I normally put these ones. These are the magic numbers for me. And even more so these. And I like to put them in something I can watch, like a yellow here. So let's change, I'm thinking I'm going to haggle over the price of a goat. It's, the guy's looking for 300 and I want to get it for 250. Well, if we keep an eye down here, we're going from making 890 euros a year to 916. Okay, that's 16 euros of a difference. And if I was focusing all my energy on the price of goats is the important thing. Whereas if I focus down here and I could get this up to say 1.6, so 100 extra grams a day, which isn't that much, and I watch my 906 goes up to 966. Okay, this starts to show us what you call in production industry KPIs, key performance indicators. So I'm just going to go back and fix up my sheet here, what I think is right. So I'm going to put that back down to 1. This is very reserved. I know I can definitely do 1. 250 is good. Feed's all good. Okay, that all looks good. So those are the two main ones that I want to watch now. And remember, this is indirect profit. You do have to run your farm as well after this, and some of that cost, I would like to contribute at least 10% of this to the farm. And the other thing is this is for one goat. Okay. So now down here, we'll look at if we scale it up. So if we take here, we can do it along here actually. If we make this one goat, and then we'll make this here 5. Enter that. So this will be equal to this multiplied by this. Enter. And there's a clever thing I can do. I think it's a dollar sign, but I'm not going to mess with it now while I have you guys here. So I'm just going to do it manually. Multiplied by this. Okay, and then this one's going to be equal to this multiplied by this. And I'm spending a little bit of time here doing this, but it's going to save me a lot in the long run. And this is equal to this multiplied by this. And now, so if I do 5 goats, I'm going to make 3 grand here. I'm going to make 12 grand if I do a non-kid share. Now if I go up to do 15 goats, now I'm making 9 grand. Okay, 25 goats. Okay, I'm making 15 grand now. We go to 30 goats, which is a nice number. Okay, I'm trying to get to 20 grand here, which is almost half the average salary. So 35. There we go. Now, okay, if I'm doing 35 goats, I'm starting to get into goats, and I think it's unethical. But to be honest, there could be ways around this. Nah, I don't want to move away from the kid share. I like the kid share, but let's say I breed good goats. I'm going to get this up to. I'm not going to go mad. I'm going to say 1.4. Like remember, an average dairy goat is producing up to 6 to 8 liters a day. Okay, in a standard normal system. Now they are getting fed grain. So for me to say in a kid share system I get 1.4, that's not unreal. I think with good breeding I can get that up to 2. But I don't want to go crazy on my numbers here. But 30. So look at if I can get 1.4 liters a day out of my goats and I keep 30 goats, I can make 25 grand. This enterprise here could make up half of the income of my farm. What I would like to do is I would make 25 grand off this enterprise, run at least one other enterprise that I make 25 grand off. That's 50,000 euros. 10,000 euros needs to go to run an indirect cost in my business. And then that leaves 40,000 euros for me. And this is, remember, working 200 days of the year. Now the goats will be there, but very little work involved. And that's the next thing we want to look at. We have 2 other things we want to look at. The investment required, and the time required. Now, time to milk 30 goats, I would say an hour and a half per day to milk them and get the milk sorted. And 30 goats, how much milk is that? So it's going to be 30 multiplied by 1.4, which is 42 liters a day. That's not that many by 7. You're producing 300 liters a week, so you need 300 customers to buy a liter of goat's milk off you. Most people will probably buy 2 liters, so you need about 150 customers. That's not a ridiculous stretch of the imagination, and you're making 25,000 euros. The other thing I want to think about is investment. Okay, you're going to have to get registered as a milk producer, for sure, and that's going to require a little milk parlor and a milk processing room, but you only got 30 goats. I mean, you need 2 stanchions, 2 milking stations. I would think about buying like a little 20-foot refrigerated container, because it's going to have a checkered floor. You'll be able to go in there, power hose everything down, and you just put a split down the middle. So one half is your milking, your milking parlor. The other half is your milk processing room. You just need a stainless steel sink. You're going to have to cool this milk down pretty fast, and depends where you are and what your regulations are if you want to sell it raw or pasteurized. But you might need to invest. You're only doing 50 liters a day, so you don't need huge big equipment. You can probably come up with something for not ridiculous. A rough guess, I'd say like a 20-foot container is about 4,000 euros right now. All the kit, I would say somewhere between 10,000. I know I could do it for 10,000 for sure, but say 15,000 worst case scenario of an investment. I mean, you're going to make 25 grand profit the first year, so you can pay that back. You take 10 grand as a salary, and then every year going forward. These numbers look really good to me. And that's why, if you follow me, I have been moving towards goats here, because I think these numbers can do good. And even my thought process was to take that milk and even value add it a lot more, turn it into cheese. So that's the general thought process. And now I've got my spreadsheet here, and it's made once. It's all you got to do. And it's great now, because I can take this sheet and then I can go and look at another enterprise I'm thinking of doing. Maybe it's forest raised pigs, and I can look at the time input, because if we look at this, what did I say? I was going to do 1.5 time in hours per day. This is going to be 1.5, and that's milking, milk processing. Bottling, whatever, like we're doing tiny numbers really, and I want to make that general. Okay, so, and it's going to be for 200 days. This is going to be equal to this multiplied by 200. Okay, so that's 300 hours, and then 200 days leaves me 165 where they're not being milked, but they have to be tended to. They have to be moved on to fresh pasture. That takes about, I'm going to say 20 minutes. Let's call it a half an hour. Okay, so 165 days. Winter. I just want to get them all on the line here so I can auto sum it. So this is equal to 165 multiplied by 0.33, because we're working in hours. And so this is going to be equal to this plus this. Okay, so maintaining the goats is going to take 354 hours. We're going to put some time into sales. I'm going to say 5 hours a week. That's ridiculous. Sales doesn't need any time, because the same people is going to buy it. The first year, you're going to have to put time into sales. But I know with my business, once you get those customers, they will come back and back. So I'm going to say for sales, maybe like I can sell all that from my farm shop, but I mean, it's such a small amount of milk. I'm going to say 2 hours a week. When you're starting out, you can make it more, but I know because I've already gotten on a shop on my farm gate, I can do this. So 2 hours a week by 52 is 105, I'm going to call it. And so we auto sum that. Okay, so I'm doing 460 hours a year. So what's our hourly rate? If I get my OCD sorted and get that out. So hourly rate is going to be equal to, I'm going to take this number here because this is, I think, the one I would probably go for. Divided by that there, 55 euros and 30 cent. I'm happy with that hourly rate. It's very consistent. It's very scalable because I'm still not producing, like, I'm making half my salary that I'm happy with. I could make all my money off goats here and expand. I just need to get more customers. I need maybe 300 customers a week, which is unrealistic, or isn't unrealistic, as goat's milk. Anyone with a Zima, kids that tend to be lactose intolerant, or slightly lactose intolerant, tend to tolerate goat's milk. So I see a big market there. The thing I love about this enterprise really is these numbers here are phenomenal. Input costs. The only input cost is the goat, and I can start breeding my own replacement goats, and that there number would disappear nearly. It'd be just if I could do two things here. If I could make my own hay for next to nothing, which I could do, I could get that down to next to nothing, and that means then I can overwinter young goats, which would have no cost. I'm going to do this quickly theoretically. I mean, a goat cost me 20 euros because I just had to overwinter it. And I get this 4 euros down to like, I'm going to say like 0.05. You obviously have to make the hay and store it. I think that kidding rate would be definitely more like 1.75 for sure. This is a very optimistic look at it now. I think down the line I'll get this up to like 1.6, no problem. And 30 is a nice number of goats. I'm just trying to think what's the maximum I could carry in the farm. There's an old book I read, an Irish book, where it says one animal unit is a cow, a small cow, which is equal to 4 sheep or 5 goats. And I know I can do 10 by 5. I can keep 50 goats in my farm, no problem. So 30, I love that number, so I'm definitely not overstocked. So I think I could run this enterprise easily, build up to it, and be making 32,000 euros gross off it. And if I net that, I would give at least 5,000 to my business, and let's call it 30, rough number. So I can make 25 grand a year, and I get another enterprise doing that. I can make 50,000 euros, which is just above the average salary in Ireland, for working very little hours. It's 460 hours a year. So 460 divided by 52, that's 8.8 hours a week. And really it's a few more hours in the summertime and way less in the wintertime. This looks like a good business plan. But this is just to give you an idea of how I approach every enterprise in the farm. Work it out like this here, make it all scalable and nice so I can change the numbers. That there guy needs to be green as well. And you got to do this for your farm, because every little thing. And now, when I don't know, I don't know how many, if I'm just getting into goats, I don't know how many liters a goat will give. But I look it up and it says, okay, an average goat will yield 68 liters. Well, right away, by making this one, I mean, like, I need to be a real mess it up not to get it right. And even then, the numbers are looking good. Then I go off and get a few goats and dial in these numbers better. And then I've got 10 goats at the farm. I milked, I think, 6 goats this year, so give me a real good idea of these numbers. And if I moved up to like 15 goats, and I can even fine tune these even more, and it's a really solid business plan. I just wanted to share that because, I suppose just when I was starting out, there wasn't so much. It was very difficult. It was people like Richard Perkins and Joe Salton were the only people I could find who were really talking about stuff like that. And I feel it's very important to for me to share that, and just show people my thought process around the finances and the planning around that. And yeah, I hope anyone who's watching found that helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And thanks for watching, guys.